nutritional epidemiology is garbage. You could do it well, but they tend to not. They tend to just do it in as slapdash of a way as possible. Like the nurses study is something that's quoted all over the place because of Walter Willett from Harvard, and he's a very, very influential guy. But he works with the Seventh-day Adventists, and they try to push this plant-based ideology. And so the nurses study, they have all these nurses, tens of thousands of nurses around the U.S. I know some of them, and they send them a survey every year and say, "Oh, what'd you eat last year?" It's like, what?
Why nurses?
Oh, it's just that's the population they chose,
right?
And so they got all these nurses around the U.S. and they just say, hey, what'd you eat last year? It's not, hey, can you track your meals for the next year?
Yeah.
It's, hey, try to remember all the meals you ate last year.
And they get embarrassed and they want to seem like they're doing the right thing. So they go, lots of veggies.
Yeah. Well, and that's it. And so the ones that are saying, more veggies, or they seem to be healthier than the other ones, but it's very inaccurate. Yeah. I mean, they're saying, first of all, the average male nurse was eating like 200 or 300 less calories than the average female nurse. I was like, really? And they were all eating like 1,200 to 1,400 calories. I'm like, I've seen most nurses take down about 1,400 calories of chocolate per shift. Yeah. So I don't know about that, but so it's very inaccurate. And that's the level of data for the plant-based studies, right?
Is that called, I think you just said it before, was it epidemiology?
Epidemiology,
study? When they just self-report.
It's, you're just looking at sort of big, broad, sort of, thing you have a survey or something. Yeah, exactly. You're not. It's not an interventional trial. It's not an experiment. It's not experimental data. You're just it's sort of observation, right?
So is that ever taken very seriously? Epidemiology studies?
Well, nutritionists try to, because it's all they have. That's what I was saying. It's not. It's like as good as a degree in gender studies, because it's about as scientifically rigorous. Yeah. And so
can it be weaponized? Like epidemiologists weren't they being used during COVID? Was epidemiologists?
Absolutely. Right. Yeah. Well, it's weaponized against us with food, right? Because the sugar, the big food companies pump out the vast majority of nutritional studies, and it's all this nutritional epidemiology. Some is animal models and experiments and other experiments, stuff like that. But it's all to push processed food and crap, right? And saying that sugar is safe or aspartame is safe, and they get all these influencers to pay them off to say that, aspartame is really good, because the WHO said, hey, look, this is a possible carcinogen. Then the FDA, who is, it's not like, the WHO is bought and paid for by whoever they own, and the FDA is also, and they're like, hold on a second, aspartame isn't all that bad, because the sugar companies are saying, you got to back us up. And then they, went around the sugar companies started pushing out for all these influencers, these big people. One guy, Dr. Ids, he got caught saying, aspartame is actually healthy and all is really good for you, but he was actually paid to say that, and he didn't disclose that he was being paid to say that.
Dr. Ids?
Dr. Ids, IDZ.
Dr. Ids do not listen to him.
Naughty.
When it comes to funding, and that's something I'm actually, we'll get back to the ketogenic in a sec, but funding, like I'm coming down that path, and I hit you up as well recently about potentially doing this documentary and
sponsoring the pod. What? Different funding.
Farming, agriculture, the vegan, carnivore, meat industry, all those sorts of issues. I want to encompass it all. And then I thought, this would be way better if I could actually get paid to do this and actually get someone to help fund it. And I've actually started to think, how do I do it without having someone go, you've been funded by this industry, and it's almost like I have to do this myself. Yeah. Otherwise, I will instantly be going. Someone will be going, or
no more funding.
Dr. Anthony Chaffee funded, some of this study, or this documentary, so I don't take it because it's bias.
Yeah.
It's hard. And as someone who wants to be a documentary filmmaker, who wants to get paid to do it, we're like. Yeah, crowdfunding. That's where you got to get your start. It's a great idea.
So you've got a big platform here. You can talk to people and just say, look, this is what I'm trying to do. This is why we're trying to do it, and we're not trying to say, hey, we're trying to do this because we want to prove carnivore is good or vegan's good or keto is good. We just want to see.
Yeah, right. That's exactly.
And so, do you guys want to see? If you're interested in this, please help with this. You'll get these perks and things like
that's
that.
That's a good idea. Yeah, we'll crowdfund the Patreon first.
Yeah,
that's a pretty smart move. But that begs the question then. We hear about the sugar industry funding studies. You hear about all these industries funding studies. Why have farmers never banded together and funded their own study
Well, that's an argument, isn't it? That they do sometimes. Big meat or like the meat industry.
There's no such thing as big meat.
Yeah.
It's all independent farmers and things like that.
Yeah, wow.
It's a good.
Well, that's his nickname, Big Meat.
And so the thing is that there would be sort of like the Cattlemen's Association in America, and they're supposed to be doing this. They're the ones that put out those commercials like beef. It's what's for dinner, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And they should be, Dr. Sean Baker tried to approach them and said, hey, why don't we put some studies together?
Yeah.
Why don't we do this and get some real patients and do actual experimental data? We can, I am seeing tens of thousands of people reversing autoimmunity and diabetes and all these other major issues. Like, why can you help fund this? And we'll do an experimental trial and say, hey, we got, 1,000 people with Crohn's disease. We split them up and see what happens, He didn't get much playback. They're like, we're not really interested. We don't want to go that path. So he sort of hit dead ends with that. And everyone says, like, every time I do this, this is just a big meat lobby trying to do something. There's no such thing. Like, it's like,
so why though? Why is it like you'd think
Tony Gallardi should do it? Like Big Potato.
Why wouldn't
Meat and Spud?
I just don't
call it Meat and Spud study.
Is there something more sinister going on, or is there just we don't give a fuck?
So
or is it?
Yeah, I don't know if they necessarily even thought about it all that much. Maybe they didn't think it was that big of a deal. It wouldn't get them that far. But it actually started getting a bit of traction because when Sean Baker was on Joe Rogan again, he mentioned that. And he just said, hey, I've tried to go out and say, hey, let's start funding some studies, and then didn't get anywhere.
Do you reckon anyone's blocking them studies?
That's what I mean. Yeah,
it's a good question. I mean, certainly in academia,
because there seems to be an attack on the meat industry. Can see that. You can see even mainstream media. We see that and we talked about it with Corey Green on the podcast that it was basically vegan versus carnivore versus omnivore diets, and it was not controlled studies. You weren't focused on anything, but it was very, very obviously funded by vegans. And then having a look into it was in the end. Yeah. But you don't see. I'm seeing an abundance of those sorts of documentaries on like a mainstream platform like Netflix. I'm not saying anything about how good carnivore is, and I know you were working on a documentary. Last time we had you on,
Game Changers was the vegan one, right?
Well, and that was
why don't they do a Game Changers carnivore?
So that was a confirmation bias for me because I had gone vegetarian prior to this, and I'd had my benefits, and I started going, "Whoa, my recovery! I feel so much better. I feel so much lighter. I feel so much energy." And then I watched that, and I was like,
of course,
yeah." And so. I understand that these play a massive factor in swaying public opinion, and all we're seeing is an attack on meat and not on vegan. So I'm interested. Yeah, there does seem...
Is that just woke politics creeping in where...
you're
trying to protect living creatures.
Well, from a sinister point of view, you would say, we're trying to weaken the population.
Well, that's it. Who's above the woke politics? Who's pulling those strings?
Yeah.
Right. Hey guys, just want to take a second to thank our sponsor at Carnivore Bar. I don't promote many products because honestly, all you need to be healthy is to just eat meat. For those times that you're out hiking, road tripping, or stuck at work and you want a nutritious snack that is just meat, fat, and salt if you want it, the Carnivore Bar is a great option. So I like this product not because it's just pure meat, but also because I want the carnivore market to thrive as well. And the more we support meat-only products, the more meat-only products there will be available in the mainstream. So if this sounds like something you'd like to get behind, check it out using my discount code Anthony to get 10% off, which also applies to subscriptions, giving you 25% off total. All right, thanks guys. A lot of these people have very good intentions. They want rights for people. They want good environment and health and all these sorts of things, and so they're getting those good intentions preyed upon by these other people that are using that to manipulate them into getting what they want. And so you have these big food companies that make trillions of dollars a year feeding us this garbage, and studies are very clear on this. When people go plant-based, they start like you did, where they start with I'm going to do this really well, but then they slip into the processed food crap.
Yes.
And so that's where they're going. So it's these big food companies are the ones pumping out the money. So like Coca-Cola spends 11 times the amount of money on nutritional research than the NIH, than the National Institutes of Health, right? So this is the vast majority of this is going into that, and then it makes us sick. They know it makes us sick. And then they're also heavily invested with the pharmaceutical companies, and sometimes they're even like vertically integrated where they actually make different pharmaceuticals and diabetes medications themselves to then treat the sickness. Yeah, exactly. Things. I'm not just regurgitating this because someone taught it to me in college. You know, I've done years and years and years of research on it.